Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to That You Shoot, weekly episodic show where I talk about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. This week, we're back to normal, as we have three little minor topics to talk about. It's minor in the fact of compared to the major topic that we talk about at the end, as we always do. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, so at WrestleMania Backlash, Ronda Rousey defeated Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and she was written off television with a broken radio bone. Now, Pat McAfee, he put it on the show on WrestleMania Backlash. He said that the radio bone is the bone that's in the side. Your arm has two bones: bone on the outside and bone on the inside. Same thing with your leg. The bone on the outside, bone on the inside. We know that's the tibia and the fibula. This one, I don't know what he said. The outside one. He said the inside one was the radio bone, right? All that being said, that's just a that's a that's it's a kayfabe injury. It's not a real injury. She's been written off television because she's gonna take some time off. She's gonna get married, have her honeymoon, something like that. She's probably gonna come back and be back in time for the SummerSlam. I would expect that she probably jumps Ronda Rousey. As you can see, my cat in the background. That's one thing with now having a chair that's a little bit lower, is that you can see everything on the low. So you see my cat just absolutely licking and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, you have the thing in the background. So you have So you would probably have Charlotte Flair jump her, right? And then that would probably be the third final match would probably be at SummerSlam. So we don't know what's going to happen. So Ronda Rousey's probably going to have other feuds in the upcoming months. Now you say we've got two pay-per-views, right? We've got Money in the Bank. We've got Hell in a Cell coming next month, and then of course, like I said, we got the SummerSlam at the end of July. So what could it be over these next 3 months, basically? What could be happening? I think you have a lot right now. Like when you look at what's happening, you have the heels, right? You have Shotzi Blackheart, you have Natalya, you have Shayna Baszler, which that could be very interesting. That could really be very interesting if they decide to go friend versus friend. Have Ronda Rousey go against Shayna Baszler. And also, Natty is her friend. At least she was supposed to be her friend when we come back, and she can still be her friend. Now especially as they both, although Ronda's a baby face and Tracy's a heel, and they just moved Lacey Adams to Raw, and we're gonna talk about Lacey Adams in our main topic. But so yeah, tonight is obviously SmackDown. I can't wait to see what they do and what they have going on next for Ronda. But yeah, so Charlotte Flair. Kayfabe injury, she's gonna be out for a while, and good for her. She took time off. She took time off in 2020, to deal with her implants and the effect they were having on her. Then then she took time off after after WrestleMania 36, or just before WrestleMania 36, due to the false positive of her being pregnant. So she's had some time off, and and it's always good for people to have time off. And we'll talk about that again a little bit later with Roman Reigns. It's always good I think it's always good to have people time off, because not only do when your sons like Charlotte Flair, how can we miss you if you don't go away? As one, and I think also two, while you're away, other people can step up. So, like I said, this would be a good time. Shotzi Blackheart, any others, Xia Li, anybody else can they step up and kind of get over to help You know, I would not be shocked if tonight there's another heel turn from somebody, from one of the baby faces, so that there can be somebody for Ronda Rousey to face. And so we'll just have to wait and see. But I think what could really be good is the Ronda Rousey Shayna Baszler. So I really think that could be good. They could start it off as it just being the two friends who are going to fight, and it could. And I think that could even be, and I think that would be the money. That should be the Money in the Bank feud. That's a little bit. That should be the Money in the Bank feud. And then you can maybe even have it so that Shayna Baszler's like, you know, Shayna Baszler's like she wants to continue to get back at Ronda Rousey, get back up to her. So we'll all wait and see. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the update on Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and everything that's going on with that issue that's going on with them. So expect not to see Charlotte Flair on television for a few months. So there are reports that MJF is not happy with this AEW contract, and he is leaning towards signing with WWE when this contract runs out. This is from WrestlingNews.co. Author Andrew Ravens. It doesn't seem things have improved between AEW and MJF following AEW President Tony Khan having a heated discussion with him last month. Khan was not happy about MJF doing a high-profile interview without telling AEW PR about it. It left both men feeling frustrated. FIFO Select reports that there's been no outward frustration from Khan regarding the situation since. MJF, however, is reportedly not happy about his contract situation and the pay scale as of that conversation. The report stated that the situation left him soured on many things. Per the report, MJF publicly talking about potentially going to WWE when his deal expires in 2014 is not in character, as it's something he has considered. There has been at least some progress on his future in AEW. There have been open-ended mentions of him possibly getting an extension. However, those in AEW don't believe that MJF and Khan are as close as they were prior to the heated discussion. Sean Ross Sapp, who's been doing great reporting. Some people don't like him. Some people do. I happen to like him. For the most part, I think he, like many others in this wrestling universe, has some really wrong opinions about WWE and how wrestling should be seen in general. But that's just norm nowadays. Sean Ross Sapp wrote, MJF is said to be leaning towards leaving AEW as of now when his deal is up. Anything can change between now and 2024. It's unclear whether this is necessarily a renegotiation of his current deal or an extension after the fact. They have not been told he is 100% on leaving the company. It has been reported that WWE is very interested in signing him. MJF was recently on the Barstool Wrestling podcast and mentioned being unhappy about the ex-WWE guys making more money than him in AEW. Okay, so that's the end of the article. So here's my thought about this, right? Because I saw this morning on Wrestle Talk, their podcast was all about, is this a work? And, is this a work? And yes, it could very much be a work because that's MJF, right? It very much be a work. But one thing wrestling has always been about, at least in the old days, especially during the territory days, wrestling was all about money and where you can make the most money, right? And that's why definitely in those territory days, people jumped from territory to territory because they were trying to get the most money, and even going into when the territory days slipped down and it was just really WWE and WCW. You think about it, the reason why Scott Hall and Kevin Nash jumped to WCW was because of money. They wanted to make more money. And so even to that, it's like that's what it's been about. And I think MJF is he's an old school wrestler. I think from the most part he does most of his interviews and things like that in character. For the most part, he does his outward things in character. He does signings in character, even though he's a heel. He does signing, but he signs it as a heel would sign it. Fuck you and go to hell and all those other things that they don't heel would do. So I think he's the old school person who was like, yes, I want to make the most money. I'm gonna beat my body up and I'm going to cut my head, several times a year. You know, I want to make the most money doing it. So yeah, again, this could be work. I don't think it's work. I think he really wants to be paid more money. Now that being said, if your question is like what the Wrestle Talk podcast guys are saying, is it a work? No, I don't think it's a work. But if your question would be, would he leave AEW? My question would be no as well, because I think when push comes to shove, I think Tony Khan couldn't lose one of the pillars of AEW. While you could lose one of the founding fathers, Cody Rhodes, and you could lose the Young Bucks, you could even lose Kenny Omega. You can't lose the future of your company, right? And that's MJF. To a certain extent, that is guys like Darby Allin and Jungle Boy. And there are other guys, other young guys as well that you shouldn't lose. Maybe even Wardlow, as Wardlow now is getting massively over. You can't lose your young future, right, of AEW. You can't lose that. So I think when push comes to shove, Tony Khan's he's going to give MJF what he does. If in 2024 MJF, and apparently his contract would be like Cody. His contract would be up early 2024 before WrestleMania. WrestleMania 40, should I say? That'd be the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania. So by God, WrestleMania 40. Now who knows what's happening around that time and who would be a champion, anything like that. But let's just say that it's once again Seth Rollins facing a secret opponent, and all of a sudden here comes MJF on WrestleMania. Amazing. Again, I don't know that it happened. I do think Tony Khan would keep MJF, but yeah, this is gonna be very interesting. A very interesting next 18 to 24 months to see what happens with MJF and AEW. Is the tribal chief leaving WWE? Not so fast, my friends. Before was it before WrestleMania? Yeah, I think before WrestleMania Backlash, and event in Trenton, New Jersey, Roman Reigns kind of stirred the pot. He kicked the hornet's nest, as he like to say, when he said that that he was going that this things have been changed. He was not going to be around anymore, and so. And people started wondering, well, what does that mean? Does that mean Roman Reigns is going to go to Hollywood? Does that mean that Roman Reigns is going to retire? What does that? I mean, maybe some people is even worried when they get this cancer come back. A lot of people's thoughts and things were going through their mind. What exactly is this? Well, it seems to be the fact that Roman Reigns really just signed a new contract, meaning that now he was going maybe into like a more part-time mode, where you wouldn't see him in smaller towns like Trenton, New Jersey. You wouldn't see him in smaller towns, Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, or something like that. maybe you see with some of the bigger shows, bigger run events, the house show in Chicago, house show at the Garden, house show in Los Angeles, or somewhere like that. You might see him there. You see him on, maybe on some TV and and on the premium live events. That seems to be what that means. And we have a article here from comicbook.com that kind of sums that up. Let's go ahead and again let's read it. Also, it's Connor Casey. New report has some good news regarding Roman Reigns' WWE schedule. Roman Reigns' status in WWE has been widely discussed ever since he hinted at starting a new phase of his career during a post-show promo in Trenton, New Jersey over the weekend. It has since been revealed that the Tribal Chief recently signed a new contract that requires fewer house show dates, but then several outlets discovered Reigns wasn't being advertised for any of the house shows or SmackDown tapings for July or August of this year, causing fans to worry that the undisputed WWE Universal Champion might be outright gone from WWE programming for most of the summer. However, the Madman podcast's Andrew Zarian offered a new update on Tuesday night that contradicts the latter report. He wrote, spoke to someone over at WWE regarding Roman and the schedule moving forward. It's not expected for Roman Reigns to take extended time off. He will be on PLEs, the premium live events, and TV. The only change will be with smaller market house shows, which is why he showed his gratitude to the fans of Trenton, New Jersey. Reigns himself decided to play into the speculation during a video he posted hours after WrestleMania Backlash. He and the Usos beat Drew McIntyre and RK Bro in the show's main event in Providence, Rhode Island. What's on my brain right now? What's got your Tribal Chief in here? He's pointing to his heart right now is, what if that's the last six-man tag you ever see the Bloodline do? I believe when it comes to TV and it being broadcast for the entire world, that's only the second one. Y'all are freaking out right now. Don't worry, the Tribal Chief loves you. I'm not going anywhere. Unless I am. Who knows? Not Roman. I can see him saying it, just in the way where, he would say it like that. The way he's been saying everything nowadays. What if that's the last one? There's so much riding on us. We have all the titles. We're the very best at what we do. What if that's the last time you see us do what nobody can do? That's the island of relevancy right there, people. It's not a gimmick. We're just putting on these. We're not just putting on these shirts. This is as real as it gets. Anybody that sits at the table, anybody that tries to step up, anybody that is near us, they automatically become better. You've been seeing this. The proof is in. Whether you like it or not, you love it, and you know you respect it because you acknowledge it every time, everywhere you go. But think about that. If that's the last one, we already know you're going to miss us. We're the greatest to ever do it. It's because we're the Bloodline and we're the ones. So, I think that's truly, that's truly what it was. And when that first broke. When it did about the Trenton, New Jersey video, I pretty much thought that that's what he was talking about. He was talking about that he wasn't going to be on smaller shows. That he was going to be on that he was probably not going to go on the road anymore and not do house shows and things like that. And this is one of the things that I think that going from the old school way of doing it to now, I think it's probably more. It's not well. It's probably a better way of doing things, so to speak. Because back in the old days, the champion probably should be at every house show because there wasn't as much TV, right? If at all. You had maybe your syndicated TV show wherever that was, and that was once a week. And then even when you're talking about WWE being on Raw, for the first let's just say for the first 3 or 4 years, right? And when Raw was a 1 hour show, for the most part before it went to 2 hours, right? When it was a 1 hour show, yeah, the you know, you didn't see the champion. Maybe you saw an interview from the champion. Maybe you saw a pre-recorded, a pre-tape from the champion. Maybe you saw the champion once every, wrestle on the title on the show once every, 3-4 weeks maybe. He wasn't even on the show. There was other people on the show, right? So as we've gone evolving, now we have a 3-hour Raw, we have a 2-hour SmackDown. You know, and you can see your champions there. So the champion doesn't need to be on the house shows. They don't need to do the house shows. I'm totally fine with that. I'm also totally fine with not seeing the WWE champion on the shows. You know, if Roman Reigns is not on SmackDown tonight, and I think he is because RK Bro kind of called him and the Usos out, so I would think that you might see Roman Reigns tonight on the show. But even if he wasn't, that's totally fine. It's totally fine. Again, like I mentioned earlier, just now let's say we're talking about Charlotte Flair taking time off. Now this is opportunity to get other people on the show and get them over. Roman Reigns is going to always be over, right? And this, and I use that knowing that Cody Rhodes, if you watch the Broken Skull sessions with Cody Rhodes. If you haven't, I would go watch it. He sees over as another different thing. But I'm going to use it just in the way that I want to use it. Over, meaning that he's always just going to get a reaction. He could be off 2 weeks. 2 weeks. If he makes his return, either on the May 23rd Monday Night Raw or the Friday 27th Monday Night Raw, after taking 2 weeks off, he's going to get a reaction. Cheers, boos, whatever, because it's Roman Reigns. And you know it. And there's some people that are like that, who has gonna be able to get that reaction. So yeah, he doesn't need to be. He doesn't need to be on television. He doesn't need to be anything like that. They're taking him off the Hell in a Cell. People mean that he's not going to wrestle at Hell in a Cell. Which again, I think that's also good. He doesn't need to, if there's no one for him to wrestle, then he doesn't. Why does he need to wrestle? Now, saying that, there are people, and maybe I might agree with this a little bit, that say, well, he doesn't have anybody to wrestle because, nobody, they haven't built anybody up to be on his level. And maybe I can see some stuff in that. I would also say, and I've been saying this for years, that there's too many fucking pay-per-views. There are too many fucking people. There are too many premium live events. We don't need a premium live event each and every month. I say this, and I'm going to continue to say this. And if I ever get an audience with Triple H or Stephanie McMahon or even Vince himself, I'm going to say, cut down the premium live events from 11 or 12 or how many ever you do to 6. I think that's easy. I think that would be easier on the wrestlers. That would be easier on creative. Easier for the fans. Because if you have a situation like this, after coming off, and actually there shouldn't even be WrestleMania Backlash. After coming off WrestleMania, the next one should be, maybe it would be, okay, the next one would be Hell in a Cell, but I don't even think they should do Hell in a Cell. I think it'd be different. But it would be the pay-per-view in June. You could right now be building somebody up so that at the pay-per-view in June, you would see that guy face Roman Reigns. Right? And it could be believable for some who don't want to believe or whatever. So don't want to play along, however you say it. So I think there's so many things here that you can go a whole totally bunch of different ways when it comes to this Roman Reigns situation about him, going into his new phase where he's not going to be on TV often, and he's not going to be doing house shows a lot and something like that. He's going to be on premium live events, some of the bigger premium live events, things like that. Yeah, be more of a part-time, do more part-time work, I think that's totally fine. I think that's totally fine, and I think it can only make this run a whole lot better. So I'm all for it. Roman Reigns is still the biggest draw in this business, the biggest star in this business, and he has earned the right to be able to do this, and I can't wait for it. Can't wait for tonight, see what happens. See if he's on SmackDown, see how mad the internet gets. So now to our main topic: 5 great things about WWE and 5 bad things about WWE. You know, I think, one of the things I see, online is that and I see it online, is that the complaints about WWE, which are just they're so wrong and so stupid, and talk about how bad it is. No, does WWE do everything perfect? No, of course not. But it's still the best wrestling organization out there. They still put on the best wrestling out there, right? Without question, the top 1, 2, and 3 wrestling shows on TV are all WWE related: Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. And I used to say AEW Dynamite was 4th, but I don't even know if it's 4th, because especially lately the ratings for AEW have been going down and down. Saying, not only for Dynamite but for Rampage, and Impact's out there with a television show. MLW's out there with a television show. So who knows? They may not even be in the top 5 of AEW, but they're certainly not better than anything that WWE puts out there. But is it perfect? No. And we're talking about it. I'm gonna talk about the 5 bad things first, and then we're gonna talk about the 5 great things to end it, right? So let's start off with rematches, right? This is one of my pet peeves when it comes to the people in the wrestling community. They always talk about the rematches, right? And no, they don't seem to understand that rematches is what wrestling has been made of. This is what it's about. You do a match that draws money, and then you do the match again because you drew money, right? And you're gonna keep doing that match for the most part until you have to end it, until it becomes too monotonous, or until you have somebody ready to fill in that spot and make that next spot they face or heel, right? That is the way it's been. Now, again, we're in a new era where we're talking about television every week, things like that, pay-per-views every month, right? So, here we are, and this is what I'm talking about, right? So, we look at, and I think there's 2 different things here. There's 2 different things here. What people talk about, right? We're talking about, let's just say right now, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, right? Cody Rhodes and Rollins had their match at WrestleMania. They had their match at WrestleMania Backlash. It looks like they are going to have a Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell, right? That's how it's supposed to be, right? That's how it's supposed to be. And the story is great too, because we had, the very first one, we had the story of Rollins not knowing who his opponent Rhodes. That's the reason why he lost. He lost to Cody, right? His second match, well, Cody kind of cheated, right, by pulling the tights, right? So this is another out. So now, now you have the reason as of why we're getting a third match. Is going to be in the match that blows things off as No, when things like that, as it should be, we're gonna have the Hell in a Cell match, and in this match, I would assume that Cody Rhodes would once again beat Seth Rollins, undoubtedly, right? There is no cheating because there'll be no rules. There'll be, he knows his opponent, so there'll be no excuse for why Cody Rhodes has beaten Seth Rollins for a third time. And on the third time, it would be complete and utter domination from Cody Rhodes. So and that's how it's supposed to be, right? So there's no problem with that. SmackDown, Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. Here's where I can see the thing with rematches and why people get upset at them. They had 4 matches in a row, right? 4 consecutive weeks. 2 of those matches were just regular matches where Sami Zayn left the thing, right? Left he left the match. Drew McIntyre the winner, left through the stands. Then the third match was a lumberjack match, which Sami Zayn was somehow able to cause a bunch of convolution or whatever, commotion, where he once again left the ring, left through the crowd, causing Adam Pearce to come out and say that this next match was going to be inside a steel cage match. They had a steel cage match. Drew McIntyre won. But the story was solid for the most part. But I think that's something that you do. Again, that's something that you could probably do over 2 months, right? So the Sami Zayn have a match. The Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre have a match on SmackDown. It goes a while. Sami Zayn leaves. So then you make a match at the pay-per-view. Same thing happens. Sami Zayn gets called. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So then a couple weeks later, there's a lumberjack match started, and then you want to do the same thing. Okay, fine. So then at the next pay-per-view, it is now official, and that's how you can draw that out. Having it 4 weeks in a row, I can understand why people get upset at that. I found it kind of monotonous as well. I said I go back to last year, where during a span of 9 weeks, Nakamura and King Corbin wrestled 7 times during those 9 weeks. Maybe even 8 times over 10 weeks, because there was a tag match in there maybe at some point. And that's when King Corbin lost his crown and became Bum-Ass Corbin. Yeah, that's too much as well. But I think getting upset at Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins wrestling 3 times in 3 months is stupid, and you don't know wrestling if you'll get upset at that. I think to get upset at RK Bro and the Street Profits wrestling for maybe the 6th or 7th time this year, since day one, RK Bro and Street Profits wrestled at day one, and this could be maybe the 7th time they've wrestled, each other in different types of spots. We had the three tag at 3-team tag at WrestleMania. There's been some other ones they wrestled a couple weeks ago. Getting upset at that is wrong as well. If you wrestle 7 times, and I'm just saying 7 because I think it is. I didn't check and see what it was, but 7 times over a 5-month span. Come on, that's stupid. And which, by the way, There are some people out there who gets upset at that, but then they don't want the brand split to end. They don't want the tag team titles to merge. Well, guess what? If the brand split would end and the tag titles would merge, you wouldn't see Randy Orton and the Street Profits each and every 7 times in a 5-week span, because there would be more tag teams that each team could wrestle. So, can't have it both ways. And stop, so let's, do that. So, but I am going to say that yes, when they do the match week after week after week after week, that can be a bad thing, and it could turn somebody off. So I want to make sure this is, I'm doing this the right way. In a whole, rematches are not bad. That's what makes professional wrestling professional wrestling. However, when it's week after week after week, I can definitely see why that can get monotonous and they can get tedious and they can get boring. So on a small scale, one of the bad things that invariably are rematches to a certain extent. So I'm going to go quickly here with these other ones here, and just, because I spent a little bit more time on rematches than I wanted, but I felt the need to explain that for everybody. So some of the other bad things, heel turns. There's a lot of heel turns lately. Xia Li turned heel. Rhea Ripley turned heel. Damian Priest turned heel. Although we've seen some things with that nature as well, but and we've seen them where they're going with that, and that's one of the good things. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, there's been just some heel turns, like for no inconspicuous reason, and that's never good. When there's a heel turn, just for the sake of heel turn, just for the sake to freshen something up or anything like that, that's never good. That's never the case. So yeah, that's one of the bad things. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. Now, I will say this. I had this written down before what happened Monday. But, as most people remember, a couple of years ago, they came out on a December Monday saying that, that they were going to change. And they were going to get rid of authority figures. Now, they couldn't just come out and say what they wanted to say, but really what they meant was they were going to get rid of heel authority figures. And that's because it's the most played out thing in professional wrestling. The heel authority figure trying to screw over the babyface or anything like that, right? That's other things you've seen it done, and WWE more than anybody seemingly go back to that when they, it's a crutch. We need something, but let's make it turn an authority figure heel to give the babyface something to do, or to fight against, whatever. And but they stayed away from that for the longest time, even so much the fact that Paige lost her job as SmackDown GM because they wanted to say that they wanted to do no authority figures. I didn't think they needed to do that, but they did. I was all for it. And then Shane McMahon turned heel, and all of a sudden Shane McMahon was the heel authority figure. There's no need for Shane McMahon to be a heel authority figure, right? Did like that, and then they did the thing. They finally took him off of television with his feud with Kevin Owens. But then even shortly after that, they start, when Roman Reigns started to come about, they brought in Adam Pearce, and they had Adam Pearce be the authority figure, and had him, and they had him be like the official, the main official, and he was the one doing the contracts and things like that. Fine. And then a couple months later, they brought in Sonya Deville, and they had Sonya Deville be an authority figure. And it seemed like the original way they wanted to do was they wanted to have Sonya Deville kind of almost kick Adam Pearce out of his, out of his thing. That's what it looks like. That was the way that they were doing it. Sonya was doing things behind Adam Pearce's back. Even if you remember, doing the whole thing with Charlotte Flair a couple years ago, after WrestleMania 36. Yeah, after WrestleMania 36. Or was it WrestleMania 30? That's WrestleMania 37 actually. WrestleMania 37. It looks like that's what the way they were headed. Then they turned it, and then she was just being the straight authority figure, just like Adam Pearce. It's a straight authority figure. But then they started doing the thing with Sonya and Naomi, and then she became the heel authority figure, and yada yada yada, right? And then finally, this Monday on Raw, they finally fired Sonya from being an authority figure and just made her a superstar again, which is good, and that's the way it should be. I have no thing with being an authority figure. I think the authority figure should be, I'll put it like this, right? In politics, some people say that they're independent or they're moderate, right? Leaning conservative or leaning, Democrat, right? That's what they say. I mean, whatever the dude is, he's an independent, leaning Democratic. Has more of the Democratic views, right? Bernie Sanders, that guy. And that's how in wrestling an official should be. An official should be a neutral, leaning towards baby faces, meaning that he is, he'll lead more towards the babyface side. So he'll be there to help the bad guy try to get his comeuppance, something like that. But when something else happens, maybe he might be more impartial and do something for the the bad guy, things like that. So that's the way it should be. But they haven't done that really, especially with Sonya Deville. And Adam Pearce a little bit. But maybe now, since they've got rid of Sonya Deville, Adam Pearce is just going to be the head official. And by the way, they both were over, even though it's two brands, they both were the officials for both Raw and SmackDown. That was one other thing. So, but maybe now they can go that route, and they can just have Adam Pearce be the neutral, be the neutral person who leans a little bit towards the babyface side. I think that's the way to go about it. But for the longest time, Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce being the authority figures has been a bad thing on WWE. Another bad thing is the name changes. Listen, I don't get upset like many people do about the name changes. I find it now to be pretty funny, right? When Pete Dunne when Pete Dunne appeared on SmackDown as Butch, for me that was it. That was like, okay, it's just ridiculous now. It's almost like they know that people are going to get upset and they just do it anyway. But really what has happened is that there has been a edict from Vince McMahon saying that he does not want people to be in WWE using their real name or using their name that they had on the indies for the most part. Obviously, some of that has changed. Obviously, you're not going to have Cody Rhodes change his name, or anything like that. But as we have seen, Casey Canizaro was renamed Katana Chance. Kaylee Ray debuted on NXT as re-debuted as Alba Fire. right? You know, Walter was renamed Gunther, and his partner, um, Marcel Bethel, was renamed Ludwig von Klass or something like that, right? Raquel Gonzalez is Raquel Rodriguez. All right. And by the way, that's not even a real name. She was originally like Reina Gonzalez, and then she was Raquel Gonzalez. So whatever. And so many others, right? So many others. So many other names have been changed to protect the innocent. But really, to be very honest with you, when you look at it and the thing, this is a bad thing because the audience just do not cross over very much when it comes to NXT and the main roster of Raw and SmackDown. Sure, you got the diehards like myself who watch all three, but for the most part, I think it's almost like the diehard is diehard Raw fan, diehard SmackDown fan, and then like maybe casual NXT fans, something like that. For the most part, I think that's the way it is. So you might understand that you might hear, hey, there's this guy in NXT, Pete Dunne, who is an incredible worker. He is so cool. He's so good. And then you get to, you watch SmackDown and Butch, and then you hear people say that, well, that's actually Pete Dunne. You're like, really? So then you don't get excited for him. And things like that. Or maybe you've heard about Walter, or maybe you've heard about the match between Walter and Ilya, and that's the only thing that you've watched of Walter. You were like, damn, that was incredible. I can't wait to get to the main roster. And then you hear about the roster, he's Gunther. He's like, wasn't his name Walter? So, yeah, I do think the name changes are stupid. Just for the fact that I think, like that, but you do want intellectual property. I have no problem with you coming into coming into one thing like Roxy. You come in with Roxy, and they say, "Hey, I'm gonna change your name to Roxanne Perez." So that's your name in WWE. Fine. You want to do that? That's totally fine. I also think that if you do that, that's fine. But you've done it with other things like that. I'm also okay, like, because I just mentioned about Raquel Rodriguez. She was Reina Gonzalez in the Mae Young Classic. Okay, so you sign her, you say, fine, we're gonna change your name to Raquel Gonzalez. That's fine. So then why does she need to change her name to Raquel Rodriguez? That's a bad thing. And let's not forget the other things about taking away first and last names, Where now you were Austin Theory, now you're just Theory, or Tommaso Ciampa, you're now just Ciampa. Whatever. Yeah, that's another bad thing. I think the name changes. And then lastly, when it comes to all of the bad things, and to quickly recap, rematches to a certain extent, on a certain level of bad, the heel turns, particularly for no reason, just because you want to freshen up a character, it's a bad thing. There's no reason to turn Desire Lee heel or anything like that. Having Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce be the authority figures hasn't gone over very well, especially Sonya Deville being a heel. But I'm glad that's maybe stopping now. Maybe they'll get back to being correct. And the name changes are just getting out of hand, especially taking away first and last names. So the fifth and final thing that's bad about WWE is Wendy Chu. I cannot stand what's his face, Pockets, Orange Cassidy, Pockets as members of the Cult of Cornette, which I am. Call him Pockets, Orange Cassidy, whatever. I think his gimmick is stupid. I think he is stupid. I think it is just all wrong. And the WWE decides to go ahead and do that with Wendy Chu. Someone who likes to sleep in the ring. Fuck off with that. That is, I'm sure she was Karen Q And then she's actually also Mei Ying. She used to be Mei Ying in that whole storyline with Boa and Xia Li. But why couldn't she be Karen Q? I don't even know if that's a real name, but you know, again, if you don't want to use a real name, okay, have it changed to something else, you know. Or maybe she could be Wendy Chu, but just don't have this fucking stupid sleeping gimmick. But she's wrestling in a goddamn onesie. It was man to man. When you see her post pictures of herself out of the onesie, damn, right? Maybe you'd like to see that. Unlike some other former WWE superstars who want to complain about them being, them wanting a more sexier look. But it's the gimmick is stupid. Everything is stupid about that. I'm sure she's a talented wrestler, and I would like to be able to see that rather than it's stupid when you two gimmick. So those are the 5 bad things about WWE right now. But let's talk about 5 great things about WWE right now. Okay, so let's talk about the 5 great things about WWE. Let's talk about some of the new stars that they are trying to build and the way they are trying to build them, right? Madcap Moss, they've turned him babyface, one of the few that have actually turned from heel to babyface. And ever since they've done that, they're trying to get him over, and it seems to be working. He gets a reaction from the crowd, and things like that. I do agree with the fact that they need to maybe do some things with him. Maybe they need to go back to his name being Riddick Moss. They need to get rid of like the whole thing about him joking around and things like that, because you don't want him to. You don't want people to think about him being a joke. That's one thing you don't want that to do. And yeah. And there's some other things right with this, but it's up to Riddick Moss to keep this continued. Now, WrestleMania Backlash wasn't the best one. Now, listen, WWE didn't help them by putting them in that death match, from them being second to last. There was no reason they needed to be on second from last. But they also they didn't work together well either. Riddick Moss and Madcap Corbin, Happy Corbin. Maybe that's where their pay-per-view match needs to be some type of brawl or fight. That's why it would have been good instead of this pay-per-view to be held in a cell. Upcoming pay-per-view would have been great to have Extreme Rules, and then you could have this has been an Extreme Rules match. And have them do that. So have them end the feud that way. But yeah, so they're trying to make this. Then with Riddick Moss, they're trying to get over Lacey Adams, and we'll talk about that in a second. They're trying to Veer. They're doing things with Veer. They're doing things with Gunther. Some people are getting tired of seeing the same thing over and over again, but that's what you need to do. You need to keep and they're doing it perfectly with Gunther, where he's on every other week squashing somebody. And the last time he squashed somebody, it was Drew Gulak, right? So now, I think for Gunther part, he needs to squash either Drew Gulak again or squash somebody else. I don't know what other lower tier babyface he could do that to right now. I can't think of him, but he can kind of squash him, and I'll go to like the mid tier guys, and I even think maybe he should maybe be looking at Ricochet and the Intercontinental Championship, put the Intercontinental Championship on Gunther. So I think they're doing that good. Veer, they decided to have him come out every week and squash somebody. I'm not sure what's going down. I'm not sure what exactly they have. If they're just doing it just to continue to do it so that he stays on television, and I think that's fine. It's a 3-hour show. You know, 3 and 5 minutes dedicated to VIA squashing somebody isn't just watching a local enhancement talent. It doesn't take any hair off your nuts, you know. So to sit through that, but at some point, same thing with VIA. He needs to, you know, go from the squash matches to go to somebody that he could beat. If they bring back Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, that would be perfect. I even think if it was like a 2-on-1 handicap match, that would work. And of course, what they're doing with Theory, they think they see a lot in Theory, and they've been pushing him for the last several months. And so, yeah, there's some. They are trying to find new stars, build new stars for the future, and you can't say that's a bad thing. Unifying Titles. Now, again, I had this written down before they, for some effing reason, changed the entire main event of WrestleMania Backlash, and there are even reports out now that they have no want to unify titles, and I have no idea why they would. But unifying titles is a great idea to have one men's world champion, one women's world champion, one world tag team champion, and again, like I said, keep the United States and the Intercontinental Championship separate. You know, because I think there's something good about it being a Grand Slam champion. You know, that sounds a lot more prestigious than being a Triple Crown winner or anything else. Being a Grand Slam champion sounds great. So I hope, you know, and this is some talk about Fox wanting its exclusivity to its stars, and I really hope that something happens and they can continue to unify titles. They change their minds, and even if that means Fox and WWE splitting ways, and Fox and WWE not having that $1 billion contract from Fox, whatever. The best thing for this company is to, at the very least, unify the women's titles and the tag titles, could go along with the unification of the heavyweight championships, and that's at the very least. And at the very most, is to end the brand split altogether. But unifying titles is a great thing, and I thought they were going to continue to do it, and hopefully they still will. Lacey Adams, this is another one that I had written down before there's some other things started to come out. I love the way they presented her. She was no longer the sassy Southern Belle. She was now telling her story and how she overcame. And it was no longer she was a sassy Southern Belle, but now she was this strong, fierce competitor that had been built all the tragedy in her life. And they presented her as a babyface. Now, last week on Friday SmackDown, Samantha Irwin said that she said that she came out and said that Lacey Evans wants you to show her the proper respect. And I kind of thought myself, there were a lot of people that said that that's a heel move, and it is. But I thought nothing of it, because it's maybe it was a misspeak. Maybe it's just something where this is going to be maybe her character that she will want her competitors to show her the proper respect, and if they don't, she'll beat it out of them. Because one of the things she said was that these WWE women, I'm not better than them, but they certainly aren't better than me. That was her thing, that she ended all of her things with. So maybe something like that. So someone thought they were better than her. Not better than me. Show me the proper respect. I was a I was a Marine, goddamn it, or whatever she was, right? But lately there's been some things coming out. First of all, she's now switched from SmackDown to Raw, and we saw the one of the clips shown on Raw this week. That's one thing that's changed. Second thing that's changed is that she is trying to be a heel, which is what the fuck? You're having this woman tell these stories, and these are real. This is not some backstory, and I don't think they would try to make up a backstory like this. These are real things that I think happened to Lacey Adams, which is heartbreaking, and then she should be commended for turning her life around and becoming the woman that she is today. 2 kids, former Marine, now a WWE superstar. That's great. That's something that you would want to cheer. And you're gonna make her a heel? I said at the beginning of this. WWE isn't perfect, and this is one of the things that shows that they aren't. Why the fuck would you make her a heel? Telling this story, just keep her as a sassy son Bell who's gonna be a heel. This is ridiculous. I'm hoping that all of this is wrong and everything like that. I'm hoping that this is what Eva Marie was, right? Because when early last year, when they were doing things for Eva Marie and they were showing these vignettes for her and all of these things like that, right? The rumors was that this was going to be a babyface. She was going to be a babyface. But it felt like that the thing that they were doing was heel, right? And when we got to it, when she made her debut, guess what? She was a heel. The reports were wrong. I'm hoping the reports are wrong now. I'm hoping that the reports find out that when she makes her debut on Raw, she's a babyface. That's what this is. She should not be a heel. This is a babyface woman. Babyface story, babyface woman. Okay. But still, the story is great to see her back. So and these stories have been great. The way they've portrayed her as a babyface has been great. Let's hope it stays that way. Judgment Day. I've talked about this. Judgment Day has been great. People are calling it the House of Purple and Wish.com version of House of Black. This is nowhere near House of Black. I don't see this as like the spooky nonsense. Maybe this is what maybe this is something what WWE wanted it. It wanted it to be spooky, and the things with having Damian Priest be bathed in the light and then just leaves the ring during his match with AJ Styles, and having them appear out of nowhere, turn the lights on, turn the lights off, and they're backstage with AJ. Maybe that was just the wrong way to go about it. But I think the way to do this is that these are people who, sure, maybe slide over and have a little dark side to them, but for the most part, they are looking to punish people who have done them wrong. Felt like they have, they want to put judgment on people who felt like they are better than them, who have, who are in the spots that they are on, and this is just a, but the presentation is just cooler. That's what I think this is. And people who get upset at Edge doing the local sports team heat, that's what you're supposed to do when you're a bad guy. You get heat. Get over it. Dumb people. But Judgment Day is good. If they add Tommaso Ciampa, if they add a few other people, I think this could turn out to be incredible. Again, the only thing is that, you know, with them being heels and Roman Reigns being a heel, he's probably never going to get an opportunity to be like a top champion or top guy. But also, when you think about it, he doesn't necessarily need to be. Edge just needs to be the leader. That's all he needs to be. He just needs to be the leader of this group. And that could be his thing. His thing could be being the leader that turns people around, that turns Damian Priest's career around, turns Rhea Ripley's career around, turns other people's careers around. That could be the reason that why he, you know, that makes him more powerful. Not necessarily being the WWE champion, but being able to take somebody out of the spot that they are in and make them into another spot. Not only on television, but actually in real life makes Edge even better. So I like Judgment Day. I can't wait to see where they go next with it. And finally, recapping really quick, making new stars, you're unifying the titles, Lacey Adams, Judgment Day, all great things right now in WWE, or at least at one point they were great, especially in terms of Lacey Adams and the unifying of championships. But the greatest thing right now going in WWE right now is the resurgence of Randy Orton. Randy Orton is the most, this is where again, he's the most over player in, or over wrestler in WWE right now. He's the most over thing, and his hot tag is the most over thing. Riddle does a great job playing the babyface and Pearl, and then Randy Orton does a great thing doing the hot tag. It's the greatest thing going right now. I love it. Randy Orton's resurgence is fantastic. It's like, I gotta tell you, you know, if they obviously have a plan for Roman Reigns, and I mentioned this on the channel, I've said this on social media many times. Roman Reigns should lose the championship, lose the title to two people. She loses to Cody Rhodes, as we now know with his story about the MSG and everything like that, and that's obviously one. Or he should lose it to an upcoming guy like Braun Breaker, something like that, making him an immediate impact player, star, all of that. That also being said, if tragedy were to occur and Roman Reigns could not hold the title anymore, put that title on Randy Orton. Put it on Randy Orton. And when it comes to the day that they obviously have to break up RK Bro, I thought this beforehand, but I really think this right now. The turn has to be Riddle on Randy Orton. And I think we saw a little bit of that during the Randy celebration a couple weeks ago, right? When Cody Rhodes came out and they were hugging, and then it almost was like Riddle got jealous, and so he pushed them apart. So I think that's the way to go. You turn Riddle on Orton, and I would try to get another 6 or 7 months out of this. Wait till the end of the year, this year, to have Riddle turn on Randy Orton. Have them battle in the Royal Rumble, maybe at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, they're part of that, and then the first one-on-one match between Randy Orton and Riddle at a WrestleMania. But Randy Orton is the best thing right now going in WWE, and him and his hot tag are incredible. I would even say that he's passed Roman Reigns as the best thing going in WWE right now, and that's the resurgence of Randy Orton. That's the greatest thing in WWE. You know, there is a part of me that wonders if I should have just done the main topic for this episode. This is a pretty long episode. I've sat here and been recording for almost 90 minutes. when I edit it down, it's obviously gonna be less than that. It's probably gonna it may just be short of an hour, but yeah, I don't know. I'm still I be very honest with you. I have a lot of things going on in my life right now that is just really strange. Things that are happening with you know with things and everything like that. I've got things going on and I'm trying to do it this way, and I got other things going this way, and I just don't know. So I'm not where I was at last year. I'm not even where I was at 2 years ago. I am definitely not where I was at in 2019. That's what I really want to get back. I want to get back to before I came down here to Charlotte. I want to get back to where maybe I did a video every day or every other day. You know, I had a plan. I didn't take weeks off really. You know, something like that. I had something to do, and I was going to do it that week, and for that to shoot, and I really want to get to that. You get back to that point, and I don't know if I'll get back to that point just because of the way my life is going, and it looks like no way of turning around. So, for those who watch this, and if you made it through all of this entire video, and you're watching right now, I can do nothing but say thank you so much for watching this and watching this entire video. You have no idea how much that means to me, and I would hate to do this, but until some other things change, things like that. This is what you have to do, right? Gotta try to hustle a little bit. So please, if you're liking this, if you like what I do, please go to patreon.com/AJTRIP and sign up to become a patron. You have 3 tiers there. And then once I hit a certain amount of patrons, you will be able to determine what you will see on this YouTube channel, what you will hear on my podcast, The Word According to Me, or what you will see on my Twitch channel. By the way, the internet down here seems to have gotten better, so I am back to streaming video games on my Twitch channel, but also as well, I have started when I do my rapid reactions for WWE, I'm going to be streaming that on Twitch as well. So I'm going to be streaming it everywhere. I'm going to be streaming it on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming it here on YouTube. I'm streaming it on my Twitter account. I'm going to be streaming it on D Live. I'm streaming it on Daily Motion. Although I don't know if you can see it on Daily Motion. There's something wrong there. You don't really see it, but whatever. But yeah, so I'm gonna be streaming it everywhere I can. So yes, I mean, please, if you feel so inclined to do so, please sign up for patreon.com/AJTRIP and become a patron. Otherwise, please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. And I should also say, post any comments you have down below on anything we talked about today. The Charlotte Flair taking time off, and what's going on with Ronda Rousey with that. Roman Reigns' new schedule, basically becoming more of a part-timer, and MJF's contract. Is he working as brother, or is it a shoot? He's going to work himself into a shoot. What is the deal? And then, of course, the 5 great things about WWE and the 5 bad things about WWE. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with any of my things? Do you have your own things? Post it down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy, AJTRIP, signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.